It's like an invisibility ability. There's the most basic one is move, which allows you to move a block from like no matter where you were standing, you can kind of move it back and forth. It's a really fun game. So there's a lot of like puzzle solving in the dungeons and in the overworld. You go to different towns, meet new characters. You gotta find these little like creatures that are around. There's like all sorts of fun ways to sort of search around for these things. It's just, I mean, it was one of my it's probably one of my favorite RPGs of all time. I mean, it is one of my favorite. I'd say probably is one of my. It's probably, it might be my favorite. But that's such a high level. I don't know if I'm willing to go that far. For that one, it's definitely top 5? Maybe even top 3. But I feel like you have to kind of take it as a whole. Like, you have to take Golden Sun 1 and 2. Because 2 is kind of the end of the story. It's a continuation. They're both on the GBA, and they kind of connect, so you can transfer stuff between.
Here we go!
Or you can transfer. Well, you can't transfer between, but you can transfer stuff from your first game. So once you finish the first game, you can transfer it all, everything that you had to the second game exactly as you had it. So it kind of feels like it's just a continuation of the first game. Obviously, it's bigger in scope, but very much so a continuation.
What a cinch.
Yeah, I don't know. It's that level of hype, though. So next, I've marked the Breath of the Wild 2 trailer. They showed a little bit of Breath of the Wild 2. Upon first seeing it, I'm like, oh, it's kind of like they're doing kind of like a Skyward Sword thing, which makes sense because I feel like they are doing something here, you know? Because the first game felt very, like Breath of the Wild 1 felt very referential of Twilight Princess, and then they did the Twilight Princess HD. And they're like, and I think even one of the developer is like, oh, you should probably play Twilight Princess before you play Breath of the Wild, even though they didn't really connect at all. The only big connection, I think, is kind of the layout of Hyrule Castle Town, which, you know, is completely destroyed in Breath of the Wild, but you can tell that it's like the same layout. I don't know. So I feel like Breath of the Wild 2 is going to play at least slightly of an homage. There's also areas from Breath of the Wild that reference Twilight Princess, like the Arbiter's Grounds in the Gerudo Desert, even though it's like almost nothing in the actual... There was a dungeon in Twilight Princess, and it was also a very important place because it's where Ganon was... they attempted to execute Ganondorf.
Now you'll be okay.
But they have an area called the Arbiter's Grounds, but it's mostly just covered in sand. There's not really that much interesting there. Which is part of the issue I had with Breath of the Wild, is like they want to try to make these references, but at the same time not have them mean anything at all in terms of like the overarching storyline. It's like, oh, it's the Arbiter's Grounds, but there's nothing there. It's just called the Arbiter's Grounds. It doesn't even really look like it. But it's kind of a cool little reference, I guess, if you're into that. I did like the Lon Lon Ranch ruins that they did in Breath of the Wild. And the Temple of Time, I guess. But, again, their inclusion doesn't really mean much, you know. And that's kind of my big issue, or not my big issue, but one of the issues I have with Breath of the Wild, and its referential nature.
about this?
Because if it's not the Temple of Time from Ocarina of Time, then who cares? If it's not the Temple of Time from Twilight Princess, then who cares? You know? You know what I mean? Do you know what I mean? You know when I say that? I feel like...
Now you'll be okay.
I don't know. I don't know how many people really agree with me on this one. But, so it looks like there's some inspiration from Skyward Sword, but I didn't really... I might not have been paying a lot of attention, but I didn't really see much that was, like, super...
You're mine.
Like, this is what the game is. So I don't know. I'm excited for it, you know? I think it'll be cool. I think it'll be fun. I've actually been... I kind of just finished Age of Calamity. Not really. Because the game just keeps going. Even after the credits roll, like, there's more stuff to do. So I've kind of been trying to, like, clear out the map finally and for good in order before I really, like, end things and say I'm done with it. So I'm still working on that, and then I'll talk about it more. But, you know, it's what it is. And now that I'm at where I am, in terms of this recording, I'm thinking to myself, now I could talk about the vacation because that's basically everything I wanted to say about E3. All just Nintendo stuff. It was the only stuff that interested me. I'm like, well, I could start talking about my vacation.
You're mine.
At the same time, I feel like that's a lot. So maybe I'll just, like, wait on that and, like,
protect us.
start whatever I record. It might be in Star Wars, actually, where I finally start talking about that. I don't know if people are going to be disappointed by that. I might be disappointed by that because Star Wars is less of a... I get less opportunities to, like, talk like I do in this. You know what I mean? This kind of feels almost like I can just... there's so much downtime to, like, talk. Actually, my gameplay is probably getting incredibly boring by me trying to boost everything. But, yeah, so... I guess I'll skip talking about that for now, and I'll bring it up some other time on something else where I feel like probably the next episode I do of this is where I'll probably bring that up and start going into detail about it, but there's just a lot to unpack there, so I don't want to start getting into it and then have to cut myself off, you know. So instead, I will talk about... I watched a movie on Sunday. I realized that I had missed one of the movies that I planned on watching, one of the, like, superhero movies, and that was the Fantastic Four reboot? Can you call it a reboot? The newest Fantastic Four movie, which came out a few years ago. Everyone said it was terrible, and they were right. I don't know if I would say it's like, it's just not good, you know? It's just, like, not as... I think its big issue is partly being generic. Its big issue is that it's generic and boring. Like, I definitely feel like with that movie, what they probably should have done differently is, I mean, for one, not spend so much time on the fucking origin. They spent, like, the whole movie was just the origin and then them finally coming together. And yet it all felt like, even though that was the whole, they took the whole movie to focus on that, it still felt a little like rushed at the end to get them to the point where they're like, oh, we're a team now. Because they spent so much time on them getting the powers, and then, like, there's this whole part where Reed, like, leaves, and he's like, I'll help you guys, I'll figure things out. And then it doesn't even make sense, because it's like, what was he even off doing? Because it's just like he leaves, and then it shows that he's keeping track of, like, what they're doing. Like, he's reading all these articles about them. And that's... And, he's like, wow, I don't like what they're doing. And then he like, they find him and they bring him back, and he's like, well, I guess I'll agree to help. It's just like, why? What was the point of him, like, running off and then them spending all this time, like, getting him back? I don't know. It felt like he didn't do anything. Like, he didn't have much of a goal in mind. It's just like, that's what they did to add some sort of conflict into the storyline until they finally did Doctor Doom. And they did Doctor Doom dirty in this. Like, fuck. They did not do Doctor Doom right at all. He's awful.
They're there.
Like, they didn't even explain, like, he just isn't Doctor Doom, you know? It's just like, Doctor Doom doesn't have the same powers. Like, he doesn't get his powers from the same gamma thing the Fantastic Four do. He was always like, he was just a rival of Reed Richards, and his, like, his hubris and his pride were his big downfalls. It's like, he was always in it to, like, prove that he was the smartest and the best. And, you know, he ends up, like, his whole situation where he has he wears the metal face mask all the time is due to his own bullshit. Like, he caused it himself, and yet he blames Reed again for kind of him pushing himself to prove that he was smarter than Reed, and yet causes this accident that he then blames Reed for, you know. The story of Doctor Doom is just that he's kind of misguided. He's extremely prideful. And he doesn't take responsibility for the shit that he does. He just, you know. Plus, they got rid of all the whole fact that he's like this prince of another nation. He's this prince of or the king, I guess, of Latveria. Not a plot point at all. Instead, in this movie, he's like this.
Can't poison me.
I don't know. He's a really smart scientist that's like almost as smart as Reed. Like, they work together to create this thing to go to this other dimension. And then he gets a bunch of powers by being absorbed. He falls into whatever the shit goo on this planet was, and that's where he gets a bunch of powers from. And he now has, like, telekinesis, and he just walks through the lab and, like, just murdering people with his mind or something. It's like, that's not Doctor Doom. Doesn't really, his powers that he has, quotations powers, he's a powerful sorcerer, like Doctor Strange. So he does have sorcery powers, but he's also kind of a genius in terms of engineering. He can build some pretty phenomenal things. He is a scientist, but he doesn't really have, like,
They're there.
I don't know, he's not like a superhero. Unless you count sorcery as super, I guess you do, but I don't know. They just did him dirty. It's not him, and then he kind of just starts doing the bidding of this planet's like, we want you to take over Earth, and then he starts being like, yes, I will do your bidding and go to Earth and kill everyone. I don't know. It was just really messily done, and they just didn't really understand.
Take that.
This didn't do Doctor Doom right at all. I don't think they really did any of the characters right.
Please protect us.
Maybe Johnny they did right, I think, because Johnny's very simple of a character. He's just kind of your typical like frat boy.
They're there.
He likes cars, he likes girls, and he's a bit of a hothead, you know. That's the kind of the funny thing about him, is he's a hothead and he's the Human Torch. But he is one of the more powerful members of the Fantastic Four. So much so that they can, early on, they kind of gave him his own spin-off series of just him. Realizing that he, more than any of the others, could kind of stand on his own, other than the Thing. But, I don't know. The only other one that I felt like was kind of close was the Thing. I think they kind of did a good job in some ways with him, but I feel like they rushed his development a little bit, because it almost felt like he was kind of this good-natured guy, and then, you know, he's got a good heart. It's just he's got this really shitty thing that happens to him and nobody else, where his entire appearance changes and suddenly he's a monster to everyone. And he has to face all this bullshit from, you know, people that think he's a monster, makes fun of him. It's this whole thing where he's got this like gang that constantly sends him letters about how, like, just making fun of him, and he's got a short fuse, and he's got anger issues, definitely. But deep down, he's got a really good heart, and I felt like they were so close to that, but it kind of fell flat once he actually became the Thing. It's just like, well, none of that really came through, and he's just like, just angry now. I don't know. That wasn't great. Reed, I don't know. Reed was weird because I felt like they fell into a bit of a stereotype with him being this kind of like, oh, he's really smart, but he doesn't see, like, he makes certain large errors. Like, they kind of make him this mad scientist that's like, just like has big goals, but always fucks it up in some aspect, always messes up in some way, which feels a really weird way to do Reed. Because Reed's big flaw is not, it's not that he has big plans, but he always messes some part of it up. His big issue is that he lacks normal social skills. His whole problem is he gets so involved in the machines he's building and in the shit he makes, because he is the smartest person in the Marvel universe. He's a genius. So he's very capable of doing things correctly, and he usually does do them correctly. It's just that he gets so absorbed in his work that he neglects his friends and his family, and he'll spend like days, weeks, months working on a project in a lab by himself, not realizing how much time he spent doing that, neglecting the people that love him, you know. That's his big flaw. That's kind of his flaw, and they didn't really get
Please
that
protect
aspect of
us.
him correct at all. He also has I feel like this is what Sue kind of offers, is like Reed is very willing to, like, he trusts so much in the machines that he's doing, that he's making. He's like, this will definitely work, that he doesn't always consider the human aspect of it and like what he's asking people to do. So he'll like be like, hey, let's test my new machine, and I'm gonna send you guys to another dimension.
There.
And he doesn't always consider like how much he's asking of people, if that makes sense. And so that's kind of what Sue offers, is she kind of grounds him a little bit and says, hey, you know, this is a bit much. Maybe let's chill out. Maybe let's be more human about this. She's the only one that really like pulls him out of these obsessions that he has, if that makes sense. So
Please
now we follow
protect us.
Sue, and they make Sue into... Sue's a scientist in this. She's very smart. But she's also not... I don't really feel like you get that sort of compassion element out of her, if that makes sense. The emotional, like,
Gatlin's secret move.
she's kind of the heart of the group. She kind of pulls them together as a team, as a family. She feels very emotionally distant, and that she doesn't really like what she's being forced to do, and yet she goes along with it because she's I guess the reasonable one, which is close, but not exactly her. She wasn't a scientist, which I thought was a weird thing to, like, make her a scientist for some reason. Yeah, I don't know. They also made Sue an adoptive sister to Johnny. It's a little odd of a choice. I'm not sure why they did that. Seemed a little weird, because I feel like there's a little bit more of a distance there than if they were just directly blood related, you know? Because then it's like, you know, I don't know. What am I saying? It's one of those things that I felt like that was a weird choice to, like, make them adoptive siblings instead. You know, it's kind of like, why?
Don't think you can get away.
I don't know.
100 million volts, take that!
But yeah, they spent way too much time. I almost feel like they could have done a Spider-Man thing where people kind of get the origin, just move past it and show them kind of figuring each other out and, like,
Come back with
getting to a better place with it. Discus. Yeah, I kind of feel like at this point, the Disney, if they were to do a Fantastic Four movie, I feel like they simply would have to. There's no way they wouldn't do a better job, you know? It just would be better. Because Disney, you know, as much as people kind of complain sometimes about the feel of those movies, a lot of the time being the same, I think what they do better than, at least what they would do better than this film is like get the emotional, like they're humans at heart, like they get the human part of each character correct, I think. Oh boy, all right, this is starting to feel interesting. So there's no way. Like they just couldn't possibly do a worse job than this movie, you know. Surely. Gaia Alien. Yeah, I don't know. Is there much else to say about Fantastic Four? It just wasn't. It wasn't good. People were right. Not a good movie. I wouldn't recommend it.
Holy light, seal
But I
those
was interested to see in how if people were right, if it was as bad as people said, but it really is. And you know, the beginning of it I guess was okay. It's just like it dragged on. And I remember seeing the trailers and wondering like, wow, they're showing a lot of like the lab, them being in this lab, and then they're showing a little bit of them being on that planet. And I'm like, where's the rest of the movie? You know, I always felt like in the trailers, I'm like, where's the Fantastic Four out fighting the Mole Man? You know, or whatever, like out in the city. And it's just like, oh, they didn't do that. They literally are just in this lab like the entire movie when they're not on this planet. And they don't even like as a team, as people, they don't even really end up getting along towards the end. It's just like they become a team out of like necessity, and they just kind of like use their powers all together because they're all facing Doctor Doom, but there's no build up to it. It's just like, oh yeah, they have to work together now, and then they do, and they win. I guess that means they're a team now. I guess.
They're there.
I just don't know, man. There's a lot of stuff they're missing, and I think the big part of it is like that human aspect of these characters. You know, especially Reed. I feel like Reed's a tough one to get right, but Reed is like,
How about this?
Reed is almost alien in the way he acts and the way he is. He's just so weird and distant, yet he's like a necessity. People need him around because he's this genius, he's this explorer. That's kind of the big thing he focuses on, is discovering new dimensions and all of that. And the Fantastic Four are often on the forefront of like
Everyone, here we
new
go.
alien race or a new dimension, and they're like, let's go explore it. You know, despite not being super powerful in terms of what they can do, as a team, they are one of the best. They're pretty much the best team as well, because they are family at this point. I don't know. You have to get the emotional heart and the humanity of the Fantastic Four right, or else it's a waste of time, because they're not going to be interesting otherwise. I feel it's kind of sad that they haven't gotten it right yet, because like I don't know, they focus too much on like the powers and the abilities, and that's the wrong way to go about it. It's like those aren't the interesting things about the characters. It's not their powers that are interesting. It's that Reed Richards is like a fucking genius who is compassionate, caring, always keeping them on the right track, on the right side of things. Things just like come. He's a bit comedic, but with this like tragic center of like, you know, he's trapped in this monstrous body, and he would love to get rid of it, but at the same time, he's needed as the thing. Like the thing is needed. And Johnny is just kind of this chaotic element. He's just chaotic. He makes things fun.
Minus 500
Though he is
degrees,
kind of
take
annoying.
that.
And I think that's just part part of his appeal, is being that kind of dick guy. That they just kind of put up with.
Not bad, eh?
Anyways, that's enough about Fantastic Four movie. It wasn't good. It was like a Fox film, so like it would have kind of crossed over, I guess, with, it had the potential to maybe cross over with the X-Men films. Is there a way to, I mean, this is obviously gonna change the pathways, huh? Thought so. What the fuck is that? Have I fought whatever this is before? Gaia Star, Gaia Cancer. Yeah, I don't know.
Everyone, here
In other
we
news,
go!
when I came back, I finally finished Resident Evil Village, and I was really fucking happy with that game. Really good. I like the places it went. It didn't do anything to irk me in any way. I actually kind of predicted where they were gonna go with this story. The funny thing is I was talking to my sister with this while I was on vacation, and she completely lied to me. Made me think I was so wrong about like the things I was thinking. I was like,
degrees. Take that.
from talking to her, I was like, I'm gonna be so disappointed with this ending if like this doesn't go, if the things aren't the way that I expect, kind of, because I'm like, okay, well, this surely is this way, and this surely must be that. And she just like flat out lied to me, but she lied to me so fucking convincingly that like when I finished it, I sent her a message, and I'm like, you just lied about finishing the game. She's like, oh, and then she explained to me what the ending was, and I was like, so you did lie, but you lied not about finishing the game, you just lied about everything else, and like what I was saying as if I was completely wrong, and I was so confused. I was so confused. It like made me scared of her.
Everyone, here we go!
Unfortunately, I don't have any like, she played Among Us with us for a little bit, when we were on the private server, and when people stopped showing up and we couldn't get like a full lobby anymore, we moved to the LFG, and because she didn't have the game on PC, she couldn't play with us anymore, which she was very upset about, understandably, but it was just like we didn't really have a choice. Like we couldn't play on the private server because we'd only have like three or four people. It's just like that's not enough to make a lobby, so we just have to play on this other server to like get in strangers. I was like, well, you should get a PC and play with us, and she's like, she just didn't. So she was never able to play with us, and I never recorded any of those games that she was in, but or else you'd probably be able to see the extent to how good a liar she is. But I was blown away by that shit. I was like, I can't believe. I totally believed what she was saying. But I must have just been completely wrong about what I was thinking. Because of the way she was talking about it. It was wild. Threw me through a loop. But, oh, good game. Good fucking game. Loved it a lot. I almost wish it was longer, but I guess that just, you know, is because I enjoyed it so much that I just wanted to play more. But it did, like, kind of end the story where, well, actually, there were parts of it. Not to spoil it. I'll spoil it a little bit, because everybody kind of knows about the castle, like, Lady Dimitrescu, right? You've seen that from the trailers. I know when I avoided any spoilers like the fucking plague, dude. I kept getting recommended shit, and I was like, please stop. I don't want to know anything. So I'm like, now I'm like, well, I could talk about it, but at the same time, what if there's people that feel Like, I would hate myself, you know, for if I were to, like, watch something like this and somebody starts talking about Resident Evil 8 spoilers when I was like, I haven't got to play it yet. I came here to watch Grandia. But there's just one little thing which I don't think is like it's not a spoiler because it's just the beginning of the game, but basically, well, it is kind of a spoiler. If you want to like not listen or skip ahead a couple minutes, but basically, you get the Castle Dimitrescu and it's this whole section of the game. It's like, it's probably one of the longest sections of the game. And so you kind of expect the other sections to be just as like intricate and involved, but they aren't. So there's like 2 other parts which are really short, and then the last part of the game is pretty long. But like I kind of wished every section of it was just as like involved as the first section, because it feels like they threw so much into that first section being really good. Still, the rest of the game was fine. Like, I really enjoyed it, but I don't know, I kind of do wish that they would have, you know, for the other sections of the game to be just as much. Okay. So do I want to go this way or the other way? Okay, I see. Yeah, so that's it for Resident Evil Village. That's about all I have to say about it. At the moment, I mean, maybe give it a few months or something, and I feel like I'll feel more comfortable kind of talking about the spoilery stuff about it, but it still feels like it didn't come out that long ago. So it's just not, it's not time yet, you know, to really go into the specifics of it.
Now you'll be okay.
But it's really good. I'm looking forward to more Resident Evil games like that. Because I do like what they're doing currently, and I think they're on the right track with what they're doing. So yeah.
Gadwin's secret move. Dragon King Slice.
I don't know. Oh, people have been talking about like the remake. I think I talked about this a little bit. Of,
What
like,
a cinch.
because they're still doing remakes. They did Resident Evil 2 and Resident Evil. Did they announce an RE4 remake? I think they did. At least they'll kind of announce it. I always thought that they would do a... Oh, I kind of see how I was supposed to do this. So I was supposed to go through here. Grab that. Okay. Yeah, and then go back through. Yeah, let's see. I kind of ruined their little hint for me. Yeah, I always thought, I feel like they should remake some of the other ones that like haven't, like, because every single Resident Evil game for the most part is canon. Some of them are not, but for the most part, like something like Resident Evil Gaiden is not. And then parts of,
What a cinch.
well, then there's like Umbrella Chronicles and Dark Side Chronicles, which kind of do retellings of RE2 and 3, but they don't overwrite those games in terms of their canon, as I assume RE2 and RE3 remakes do. Is that the new canon? I don't really know, because there are some distinct differences that they do with RE2 and RE3. Which would make me think that they would assume the originals are more canon, because they tie in better to the overarching series, as the remakes don't as well tie in as well to the later games. I don't know, maybe they do. I'd have to like go over again, I guess.
Everyone, here we go!
But there's like one big change in RE3 that like I wasn't happy about. But I haven't played. I think if it's gonna affect a game's canon, I think the number one might be Revelations 2, which I haven't actually played that one, so I'd have to go through that one and see if like the new canon contradicts it now.
Gadwin's secret move.
Oh well.
Dragon King Slice.
Who knows? But I think they should remake not
Now you'll be
4.
okay.
I always feel weird about, because 4 still feels like a really solid game to me. It's like a perfect game. I don't even think it would feel that dated
What a cinch.
by today's standards, but so I don't feel like it needs a remake, but at the same time they remade Demon Souls, so I guess it's not like that weird for them to. Now I've gotten confused by, okay, yes, this way. This is odd. Yeah, I don't know. It feels weird to remake RE4, because it's just like one of those games where I'm like, well, isn't it kind of fine as is? Like, isn't it
You're
still
mine.
very playable? I don't know. I don't think it needs one, but then at the same time I'm thinking about it, I'm like, well, it would look cool with like updated graphics, and they could make something really, really cool out of it. But I don't know, man. I don't think I'm not clamoring for an RE4 remake. But you know, they could remake, because it's not far off from that. Like, wasn't the remake of Resident Evil 1 came out? I mean, it came out either slightly, I think it came out slightly after RE4, because they were both on the GameCube. So what, are they gonna remake RE1 remake now? I don't know. Or RE0? Like, then they could remake RE0 if they wanted to. Which I guess is not that weird, but to think about. It's weird for me to think about. Oh, I really hope I don't get fucking killed by this nonsense that's happening here. Alright, we're dragon cutting if we can afford it.
Gadwin's secret move. Dragon King Slice. All right, we won.
Yeah, I don't know. They should remake RE Survivor, I think, if anything. Do you want to fight me? Yes. Is that an ambush? Fuck. Oh, this might be bad. This might be bad. I don't know if I should have opted for this.
V-slash.
Huh, that was weird.
Now you'll be okay.
Yeah. They should redo RE Survivor. It's still canon. The Outbreak games, I feel like could use with a redo. Other than that, Code Veronica, I feel like is the one that makes the most sense if you're only doing the mainline ones to go to next, but they kind of skipped it if they're doing RE4. So that's weird.
You're mine. Tra-la-la-la-la-la.
Well, somebody did say to me once, I think I was on a forum talking about how I was like, why are people asking for RE4 when like the next one that makes sense would be Code
All right,
Veronica?
we won.
Because Code Veronica is a mainline Resident Evil game, even though it's not numbered. It's mainline. It stars Claire, it's got Chris in it, it's got Wesker, it's like it's part of the storyline, man. Can't just skip over that one. Yeah. But then that person, somebody on that forum said to me like, oh, well, you can't really redo Code Veronica. It's just like, it's brimming with that like, I think it came out, that like 90s weirdness. It's such a product of its time that it's just like, it's hard to do justice to that. And I was like, you know what? I kind of vibe with that. That's kind of true. Low-key kind of true. Now I know that wouldn't stop anybody. Something like that wouldn't stop anyone from trying to remake it, but you know, he's not wrong.
Poison me. Take that.
My guy's not wrong. It is a weird game. But I don't know. I think I'd rather have that than RE4, I think, at this stage. Because then it's like, then what? I mean, like, we're getting dangerously close to RE5, and is RE5 in need of a remake? RE6? I don't know. They're kind of, like, coming out faster than the games did initially, you know? So it's like, it's not, I don't know if it's time. I don't know if it's time to remake that one.
Now you'll be okay.
I mean, you could remake RE5, I guess. I don't know. So once you start getting to that place of like, you know, once you get to like Xbox 360, PS3, once you get there, I feel like it's like, those still feel like modern games to me. That's like, that's not that long ago. I guess I'm getting old though. I'm getting old, I don't know anymore.
Oh, thunderclap in the darkness, come here.
Yeah.
Now you'll be okay.
Yeah, I just don't know. I finished Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Well, I didn't finish Agents. I finished Season 5 of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Can't poison me. Take
And I can kind of feel like the series is concluding at this point. It didn't really feel like it at the beginning of the season, and then once you get to the end of it, it's like, oh, they're really kind of at the end of their ropes. Well, they're kind of
All
like
right, we won.
winding down, I think is the thing. They're winding down at this point. Where it's like, okay, well, like, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. centered around Phil Coulson, right? It always did. It was always about Phil Coulson. Is there a save point here? No. I want to go back and save, I think. I can't. I actually can't. Fuck. Alright, well, I don't feel great about this then, if that's the case. Let me just... Holy fuck. Oh, I didn't even use this. This might be bad because I didn't account for not having a save. I kind of thought I'd be allowed to recharge. okay. Can I fix all of this? I have 2 plagues. I believe that's move break. I need another move break. Actually, I should have just used the panacea, huh? Now I need another move break. I have another panacea. There's a move break. Okay, well, I didn't... Okay, yes. Now I've got plague, so I need to use a vaccine. And there's that. Now... I think that'd be good. Let me just use this. How many did that give us? It's not full. Let's use another one. Go again. Okay, still not full. Oh, I don't like this. I don't like what I'm doing here. Let's use that. I don't... If this is not the final battle, this is gonna be a complete waste of items. Does anybody else still need MP? He's missing a little bit. She's missing 1. I'm gonna say... I'm gonna leave it as is. But I would still like to... Stores 3 SP. Okay, let me use it twice, I guess. No other SP. Do we need health at all? No. A little bit, maybe, for Liette. I think this is about as good as it's probably gonna get for us. So let's just try to pull this off. Boss battle. Gaia armor. I never know how to go about this, but I'll use a Dragon's App. Liette use... I don't know if Enclose is going to do anything. Let's try it.
Oh, lightning! Strike down the enemy!
Did I finish that thought? Basically, the heart and soul of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. always centered around Phil Coulson, right?
Dragon,
And it seems like with this season, they're like kind of just trying to... I feel like either the actor wants to leave, or, you know, they just want to kind of move on and try to... Or tried to do something else. But it really does feel like they're...
Holy light, seal those of evil.
Kind of
hearts.
trying to end the show here. They're just like, yeah, we'll continue. We'll see if it goes anywhere with like what we're, with the rest of the team kind of still being around. But like once you get rid of Phil Coulson, it's just, you know, like he is that show. So it's kind of weird to remove him. And now they've removed him in such a way where he's not coming back. You know, I'm spoiling it, but you know, whatever, who fucking cares? If you haven't seen it by now, you're probably not gonna, you know, give a shit, I'm sure. I mean,
Try this one.
I'm just watching. So I'm one to talk. But yeah, it does feel that way, like it's just trying to... Like they're kind of winding down. They're like, this is probably the end of the show. I'm gonna leave Resurrect, just in case.
Oh, cold that freezes all, come here.
I'm still not playing this strategically at all.
Oh, power of
I'm just
ice.
kind of like using shit in terms of like order to try to like level up. So, I don't know. I should probably try to be playing this smarter. I'm just like, oh, I don't really need to, you know? Dragon Zap.
Burn to a crisp.
Yeah, you know. You know how it be sometimes.
Try this one.
This season was pretty interesting. It felt like they were kind of leading up to, I don't know, they always kind of theme around like what's going on in the movies is usually how the season kind of ends up theming itself.
Suffer the
So whatever's
punishment
going
of
on in the
heaven.
movies is like that's what this season's about. This one was kind of like the lead up into Thanos, I think, and then the next two I think will probably be, I don't know, I think the next one will include like the snap, right? I think it simply must. It simply must be about that.
Burn to a crisp.
But I have noted on my series guide that the next two seasons are significantly shorter. Whereas these were 22 episodes, the next two seasons are both 13 episodes long, so it kind of feels like they realize, or the network is like, I think you guys are kind of like winding down.
Take this.
But man, I don't know. It's gonna be sad to see it go, but I do feel like this season definitely felt more higher production than the last season. So I'm like, okay. So it was just like at that time, this was what shows were like. I think it was that, because this did feel like a little bit more. Some of the makeup felt kind of cheap at times. But, overall,
Oh, cold that freezes all, come here.
some good special effects. Their sets weren't super interesting, because they spent a lot of time in, like, kind of this one, like, ship. So a lot of it was kind of drab scenery, not very interesting to look at. But I liked the storyline. I liked what they were going for with that. It was a time travel sort of deal, so which is kind of ironic, I guess, given the content of the movies. Is like, how do we have to discover time travel, and yet they literally had the means to create time travel in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and yet it never was, like, anything that... They used this, like, monolith. There's basically this monolith that allowed them to kind of travel backwards. Like, it had this weird ability, I don't know. They just needed to use this to create a time machine to go back. It's weird. Don't think about it too much. But yeah, I really liked this season. I thought, you know, definitely
100 million volts. Take that.
not bad. Focused on the characters and stuff. It introduced a new character that kind of became part of the team.
Oh, cold that
And I really liked
freezes all,
him.
come here.
I think they did a good job with it. They introduced Graviton. They finally did the Graviton story that they set up in like season 1 or 2. I think it was season 2. You know, which I remember there being a bunch of articles about it back when I started my job. I remember talking to people, and my friend recommended IO9, this website that was purely about comic books, TV, nerdy stuff, you know. And they would always talk about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And I remember them talking about... I just beat this guy. I remember them talking about that and being like, oh, they're setting up Graviton back in the day, and then they didn't do it in season 3, 4. They did do it in season 5. Alright, what am I doing here? Okay, I activated it. Alright, I really want to save or something. Is there going to be a save point here, or am I a fool? Am I a complete fool? Okay, I need to stop doing that. I keep singing the song in lieu of speaking. I really want to... this recording's been going on for a bit here. It's about time I end it, so I'd like a save point, but I don't want to go back. Because then when I come back, I'll have to fight a bunch of monsters to get the same point, because they'll respawn. But rather, if there's going to be a save point a little bit ahead, you know, I'd rather use that one. But it's a bit of a gamble, because then there easily couldn't be, or there easily could not be. It's just the same thing, I guess.
Minus 500 degrees. Take that.
It's the same thing. I don't know. I'm also running out of shit to talk about. I kind of want to save the other two things for a different time, because they're both kind of loaded. Yeah, I don't know. I'm getting close to finishing some of the comic books I've been working through. I'm pretty close to finishing, or at least catching up with, Sonic the Hedgehog.
Feel the
I've got,
power
like,
of ice.
I think I've only got one more comic before, like, the last comic of 2020, and then all the 2021 comics are not free. So I'll probably stop reading it after I get to that point until I start buying things, if that ever happens. But yeah, it's been a long run. It's a really good series. I've really enjoyed it. It's definitely made for the fans. If you're a big Sonic fan, you'll probably really like it. If you're an average Sonic fan, you'll probably still like it. I feel like I'd say I'm an average Sonic fan. I'm not a huge Sonic fan. Actually, I was thinking about this today, and I was thinking about how, like, some of the characters, most of the characters I know where they come from, right? Most of the characters I'm like, okay, they come from this series, like this game. But the two that I've always, like, never known where they came from were Cream the Rabbit and Vanilla. Cream and Vanilla, right? I don't know what fucking game they come from. And yet everybody knows about them. Like, they're very popular characters, but I'm like, what fucking game were they introduced in? Because I can go through in my head all the other ones, like Sonic and Tails obviously came from Sonic. Well, Tails came from Sonic 2. Knuckles was introduced in 3. You had Amy that was introduced in Sonic CD, and as was Metal Sonic. You have E103 Gamma. He was introduced in Sonic Adventure. Oh, I missed Knuckles, the Chaotix team. Obviously, they come from Knuckles Chaotix. On the 32X. Then there's,
Minus 500 degrees. Take that.
Rouge. Rouge and Shadow came from Sonic Adventure 2. Oh, Big the Cat. Big the Cat came from Sonic Adventure 1. Is there anybody big that I'm missing? There's the Sonic Riders crew, the, like, birds. They came from Sonic Riders.
See my power!
Silver came from Sonic 06. Blaze the Cat came from Sonic Rush. So I don't know where Cream and Vanilla came from. Were they in Sonic Heroes? I don't think I ever played Sonic Heroes. They might have been in that one, but I don't know if they were introduced in that one, because that feels like that'd be a weird thing, like introduce these new characters to be a part of this team. I don't know. I have no idea where they came from.
Take that.
I gotta figure that out. I gotta find that game that they were from. Unless they were just introduced in, like, I think they were in Sonic X, like the anime or the cartoon, whatever you want to call it.
Not bad, eh?
I mean, it's possible they were introduced in that, because there were definitely, like, some characters came from that. Like Sally Acorn, Princess Sally. She came from Sonic, the Sonic anime, the Sonic show, TV show, Saturday morning cartoon. Where's the fucking save point, dude? You can't just, like, fucking blue ball me like this. Put me in a whole nother section and be like, I hate this. Yeah, I'm gonna go find a save point. I'm gonna end the recording because I've been doing this a little long. I've been running a little long here. I'm almost at 3 hours and I can't continue for much longer. All right, welcome back. I guess well, goddamn, I keep doing that. Literally can't stop myself. It's just reflexive. I keep saying it, even though it's the same episode. I'm sorry. I should mention before we get into this that I did have to fight my way back through the monsters I had already killed. So you might, if you're paying really close attention, you might notice some things are slightly higher leveled, and I think the big, like, very slightly, it's only like 5 or 6 battles that I did to get back here. But in that time, Fina did learn protection. I think that's the only really, like, major thing that might be of interest to somebody, but yeah, in case somebody was paying really close attention and they were wondering that.
Holy light.
How come he's got protection now on Fina and he didn't have that before? That's why. It's not a huge thing. But yeah, I guess we can just start to get into some of these things. I guess I'll start to talk about my vacation a little bit. So basically, I don't think I'll be able to get very far before the episode ends. Oh! Fina has learned End of the World. Well, that's something. Okay, I wonder what that is. That's really interesting. Okay. Alright, what are we trying to learn on Justin here? Oh, he's actually doing alright. He's maxed out Dragon Zap and Gad Zap. And Baboom. So we'll go Hal Nado, I guess. So my trip to the, we call it the lake. I'm just gonna call it that. So don't be weirded out by that. It's just what we call it. So,
100 million volts.
yeah,
Take
we
that.
used to go out there every year when I was a kid. It was basically this big family tradition that we had. It extends back. I was literally talking about this on the trip up there with my dad, asking like how long we've been going up there. Our family has apparently been going up there for 4 generations, so that would be my my great-great-grandparents, I believe. So that's me, my parents, my grandparents, my well, no, sorry. It's my great-grandpa who worked. He used to work there. And so it became this tradition after, I guess, he stopped working there or while he was working there. At some point, they decided to start going up and staying at this resort. And more and more of my family members, you know, decided to jump onto that. And so it became this, like, long-running tradition that every single year we'd go up with the extended family and stay up there. So we used to go up there every year when I was a kid, like I said. And I know, let me think. So my great-grandparents, I used to remember them going up every year. This place is complex. Yeah, they went up every year. And then my grandma and her family, she has 3 brothers, and their families all came up every single year. And then it was, yeah, aunts and uncles, and then I don't know what would you call it, a great aunt, a great aunt, a great uncle, if like it's, I guess, your grandparents' brothers' kids. Would that be a great aunt and uncle? I guess. Oh, there's World End. Reduces all enemy. Jesus Christ. Oh, she doesn't even have enough magic to use that. That's wild. Okay. I kind of love that. It's kind of nice. Low-key kind of cute. Yeah, and then I don't know what I would call... Yeah, I guess that'd be great aunt and uncle, and then their kids. So I have cousins. There's second cousins. And then I think I have third cousins that go up there as well, somehow. I don't want to try to make sense of that. I don't know. There's a lot of people up there. Some of them I'm not even entirely sure how they're related to me, but they are in some way. It's this whole complex thing, but we rent, like, for 1 week. It's usually Father's Day weekend we go up there, and then we stay for that whole week. And we usually have, like, 4 or 5, let me think. My grandma has a cabin that she gets every single year. It's basically this. there's this funny story about it. It's like oh, I had a 12 and I didn't use. She had this when they first like put a deposit on the cabin. Apparently they put like $5 on it, like decades ago, and they've just been rolling over that deposit for, like I said, for decades. And they still go to the same cabin every single year. So they get that cabin. My great-grandparents used to have the cabin next door. It's to the left facing the lake. They used to get that cabin, and now it was my great aunt and uncle staying there. I guess that's what I would call them. Then I have...
How about this?
My grandma's brother and his wife have a cabin that they generally get every single year.
Everyone, here we go.
Oh, but my aunt and my uncle, like my direct aunt and uncle, my dad's sister, they used to get a cabin every year, but they no longer get. They didn't get that cabin this year, so I guess they stopped doing that. And then my great aunt and uncle actually, when my one of my God damn, this is so hard to explain. When one of my grandma's brothers, who is their parents, right? He used to get the cabin that they got this year, and then they used to get another cabin, so that's 4 cabins that we used to get. But then there's another cabin. There's a 5th cabin that's usually my 3rd cousins stay at. They might get multiple cabins as well, but I didn't really spend enough time with them to know. I think maybe they had 2 or 3 cabins up that they used to get. But me and my parents were never able to afford the cabins. The cabins are, I should say, way too expensive for what they are. It's really not worth it. I don't blame my parents at all for not
Okay.
wanting to get a cabin. We used to stay at like a motel sometimes, off just slightly out of the resort, and then
There.
other times we would just stay at my grandparents' cabin when I was really young. So that was usually the situation, but that's how many cabins. So apparently we've been going there for like 4 generations, right? So, and we stopped going because everybody just kind of got sick of it, especially my dad. He didn't want to go anymore. My mom never really liked going. She hates it up there. My older sister hates it up there. And she also has nobody really her own age to hang out with up there, so I think that's part of the reason she stopped going, because she stopped going much earlier than we did. And I think the last time we went before this most recent time was, it was just me and my dad going up there, and that was kind of the last time we went up. And I always had mixed feelings about it, personally. Oh god, there's so many issues with the place. First of all, I can try to explain the resort. Like I said, it's too expensive for what it is. Those cabins have not been updated since I was a kid. I don't remember them ever being updated. Like they look exactly the same as they did when I was a kid. There's no Wi-Fi. They don't even have air conditioning in the cabins. They have these old ass TVs, these like box TVs from like the 80s or maybe even earlier than that they've never updated. Why would anybody touch those things? They barely work. There's no cable anyways, so you get like 3 channels and it's in black and white. It's just like a big thing that's in the way. And they say, oh, you know, some people find that very quaint, you know, they go up there for that experience of like being out in the wilderness, you know, no internet, no modern commodities. People like that sort of thing. But then when I say they don't update the cabins, I also mean that they don't renovate or fix the cabins at all. Several of the cabins have missing utensils. They don't even have like the full cooking, everything you might want to like cook. Pots and pans are missing, certain utensils like potato mashers, like bowls. It's a nightmare. So there's no locks on the doors. I guess I should mention that. You can kind of lock them when you're inside, but you don't really get a key to like lock the door when you leave or anything. So anybody at any time can just walk in the fucking cabin, and they frequently do. It's very common for family members to just walk in and like grab something that their cabin doesn't have, like some bowl or some utensil that they don't have, and they're like, we'll borrow this from them. It's very common, happens all the time, but it gets to be a little bit scary, especially when I didn't exactly think about that when I brought all this stuff up that I brought with me. Luckily, most of the people up there were my family anyways, so nobody had much interest in taking any of the things that I brought up there. But I brought a tablet. I brought my laptop. I don't know why I brought my laptop. I thought like maybe I could use this for some reason. There is internet up at this specific place. It's called the Lodge. And there's internet up there. It's not very good, but there is internet up there. So I guess like partly I was thinking, you know, maybe. I didn't actually know before I went up there if they had updated the cabins. You know, I had no idea if they had added Wi-Fi, if they had added fucking anything. I was expecting, you know, in this day and age, Wi-Fi is pretty common in like a resort, especially for as much as we're paying for these places, you know. It's a little ridiculous. So yeah, no, they still don't have that. They still don't have a modern TV. I brought my Switch, my Nintendo Switch, and my dock for my Nintendo Switch. Thinking, I don't know, maybe I'll have a TV I can hook this up to. At the very least, I thought, you know, maybe they'd at least have flat screen TVs in the cabin. They'd at least have updated that. No, it's still that old-ass TV that you can't fucking use. Like, it's wild, dude. It's wild. They never gave us... This was something my cousin mentioned that I forgot about. Because we would never, like, mess around too much with, like, the... Basically, the vacuum cleaners. They're not... electric. They don't have electric vacuum cleaners. They just have these little things that you roll across the floor and they like kick up dirt and stuff into the thing, but that's it. That's what you get. You get that. And that's it. I forgot about that. And she reminded me and I was like, "Oh shit, you're right." They don't deep clean these cabins, do they? At the very least, I expect they probably wash the bed sheets, hopefully.
Everyone, here we go.
But to that regard, I mean, I know one of my grandma's dad, my grandma's brother's wife tried to wash clothes. I don't know what to call that relationship. What do you call that? Is that a great aunt and uncle? If they're like your grandparents' siblings? I don't fucking know, dude. It's too confusing. I just call them by their names, usually, but I don't want to start calling out all of the names of my extended family on like a public YouTube video, you know? It seems a little like... it feels like something I shouldn't do. Deep in my soul, I'm like, that's probably a bad idea, isn't it?